We've been told that our world is warming due to human activities. One of such activities is war. Experts say the issue of terrorism is now a major challenge all over the world because if care is not taken, it will affect human race for a long time. But there are serious questions about the aftermath of the insurgency activities in the northeastern region of the country. What is this about and how does it affect you? So many questions begging for answers. Today on the program, we'll try to break it down. Welcome to F-File. I'm Chimezi Obi Iwago.
The northeastern part of Nigeria was invaded by Boko Haram terrorists in 2009 when the group launched a full-fledged armed rebellion against the government. For more than 5 years, the activities of this group have continued to increase, affecting the social, economic, health, environment and well-being of the people. Channels Television spoke with some experts on how the impacts can be managed.
We've not really kept track as a country of how many people were really displaced for different reasons. So that has been building up for some time. Boko Haram just added further to that number of people who were forced to flee from their homes. Now, so the impact of terrorism in that way, if you're defining terrorism as people who terrorize other people in that sense, then we have issues in the northeast, in the middle belt as well. So of course, there's an environmental impact, there's an impact on food production because once people flee, this is where our food is grown in Nigeria. I'm sure we've all noticed, for example, there were times a few months ago, for example, there was a shortage of vegetables, tomatoes, because the production, the people who produce them have been forced to flee.
The first thing that happens with terrorism is that people are killed, and then in trying to make sure that their lives are safe, people run away from the areas that they think they are vulnerable to a safer neighborhood. So what happens principally is that these people leave their original settlement, no matter how low class the environment might be, but they have established a permanency in that environment. And what happens is that they move to a temporary environment. In most cases, the government provides a place, maybe a primary school place for them. But you need to know that those places that are provided for them, one, apart from being temporal, those places were not pre-designed to accommodate the number of people that come in there. They are not pre-designed with infrastructures that will meet the needs of the people. They are not pre-designed for the kind of surge that is expected.
According to the UNHCR, violence and insecurity have continued to affect population movement in northeastern Nigeria and neighboring countries.
Terrorism is an activity that tends to disturb the individual, the family, and the whole community. It also affects the socio-economic development of the whole community, including the health. When we talk about the impact of terrorism on the environment, it could be physical, it could be social, and it could be socio-cultural.
The UNHCR says more than 100,000 people have fled Nigeria and found refuge in Niger since mid-2013. The insurgency has also displaced 18,400 Nigerians to Chad and left at least 1.5 million people displaced within Nigeria, mainly in Adamawa, Borno and Yobe states.
It tends to have the outright effect, which may be death. But some people are not as lucky to die, and they may have physical deformities as a result of the effect of activities of terrorism. That includes amputations, even sometimes deafness, because of the large impact of noise due to some of the equipment that are used for terrorist acts. And sometimes for these individuals, it has a long-term effect in the sense that they keep on reliving the episode for a very long time. And that's what they call the stress syndrome.
Violence by Boko Haram in Nigeria is forcing people from their homes and across borders, thereby creating a regional food and nutrition crisis.
When people are displaced from their homes, wherever they live as people who are temporal. They are not settled. And we need to understand that some of these people who are displaced are not just poor people. We need to come to that understanding. They are teachers, they are farmers, rich people, you know. Anybody can become an IDP overnight, you know, and they are displaced and they move into a place and they are waiting, hoping that this will be over, and this doesn't get over. So in that temporal environment that they are staying in, they see everything as temporal. There is no permanency. So if they are using the toilets, if there's a toilet facility, they see it as temporal. If it's a bathroom facility, they see it as temporal. The whole environment is temporal. That mindset impacts negatively on the environment. When some of these camps are evacuated and hopefully the people move back to their original places, those places that were used for camps, the environment in those places will have been negatively impacted.
Terrorism tends to affect the ability of the community to have gainful livelihood. It will affect their nutrition. So you expect health challenges as a result of poor nutrition. Also too, you know that with terrorism, people will get displaced from their usual abode. So they get into places where they have to be crowded together most of the time without going along with anything personal for daily use. So they are exposed to the environment, to climate. They're also exposed to poor living conditions, overcrowding, like we've been observing with the northeast of Nigerian crisis. With poor housing, you can have increase in airborne disease and respiratory disorders.
The World Food Programme Agency says nearly 500,000 people living in these areas are affected by the crisis and will face acute food security and livelihood crisis. Food supply is very essential for any society, but the ongoing war is affecting agricultural production because many farmlands are now battlefields or occupied by this group.
Because the production, the people who produce them have been forced to flee from their farmlands. So there's that impact alone on food production, which I think as time goes on, if we do not take care, we're going to see increased food prices even more than we're seeing at the moment. We're going to have some kind of food production crisis. So that's one thing. Of course, the issues around security. We have a number of displaced people. I mean, the numbers of displaced people in Nigeria are huge. According to the Internal Displacement Monitoring Center, a think tank in Geneva, the numbers range between 1.5 million to 3.3 million.